friends, welcome back to Intentional Talk. We're so glad we're here with y'all again. I know our videos have been a little spaced out lately, but it's good. They're still great. Last time we met, we talked about rest with Marissa and Matt, and it was incredible. And if you missed it, no worries. The videos are on our YouTube channel along with everything else we've been posting. So if you want to check it out, feel free to pause this video and go back and look at that one. And if not, then we're just going to keep on going. So before I get started and before I mention what we're going to be talking about, I want y'all to meet my really, really good friends. So introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, my name is Daniel Garza. We had my twin brother here before he was shaved. But one cool thing is that I'm gonna be a dad in a couple of days. My wife's about to give birth.
There you go.
So pray for us.
Yeah, my name is Derrick Bruce. I've been on staff with Chi Alpha for about a year. And one little fun fact, I am trying to at least attempt to play the violin. So,
What?
yeah.
What?
Trying to attempt. That's
That
the
is
key
so
word.
cool. That surprised me.
Trying to
You go.
attempt
The
to
attempt
play.
is like pick it up first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, when I was in elementary school, I played the double bass. And I remember this one time we had a concert and all the things on my bow popped. So I had to act like I was playing for the rest of the concert.
She's
And-
like, joke's on you, I didn't even know how to play this.
Yeah. That too. I mean, thank you, Lord. You've been covering me since day one. Anyhow,
Amen.
today we're going to be talking about value, and it's going to be incredible. So, I know when we think of value, sometimes we think of monetary value. That's not the kind of value we're talking about today. We're talking about the value of a soul, right? How much we love, appreciate someone. Not, I was about to say something, but we ain't some things. We someone's. So, I'm going to jump straight into the question.
Let's do it.
Derrick, I'm going to pick on you.
Yes.
Where do we start seeing the value of a soul?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first we need to find out really who God is to us.
Yeah.
And then from there, God will then, I think, respond to us and share his value and what he sees. You know, I think the more we spend time with God, I think the more God's heart imprints on us, and then the more that we really understand. And I think from there, then we'll start seeing real and true value, you know, is the more time we spend with the Lord. But yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think I have like a little question. Like, as a Christian, someone that's been walking with God, and I know the value of my soul because, well, I've been walking with Jesus, but how is it that I transition from just looking at myself and my own value to having a burden for people and seeing the value of someone else's soul versus just me being able to see the value of my soul? I think that's something I've been wondering about.
Yeah, so what you're saying is how can I start seeing the value in others than just my own self? Yeah, I think when you're really spending time with the Lord, and I think, in other words, reading, devotional, prayer, fasting, you know, all the disciplines, I think that starts to grow on you a little bit, especially when you surround yourself with community of believers who love Jesus.
Yeah.
And you see, I remember seeing Sean pulling friends, and I'm like, man, I want to do that. And
Yeah.
It's just started overflowing, and then how much love that person had showed me
Yeah.
was like incredible, and I wanted that became so overwhelming that, you know, I wanted to do something about it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You saying about talking about like devotional life.
Yeah.
It's where you actually like begin to read, and the words in the Bible become like real. Like the fact that Jesus died for you, but that he didn't just die for you, but he died for everybody, and that we find that the value of a soul is intrinsic. That it's not measurable. It's eternal.
Yeah.
Because he says, "Let us make men in our image." Right, and I think
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing is you see it in your friends and how they fight for others, and we see it in how our friends fought for us.
Yeah.
And then, but you don't only see it from them, but you see it from the heart of God. And if we're really meeting with God, if we're really seeking Him, then what should come about in our own lives is His desire
Yeah.
to fight for souls, to love people, because
Yeah.
now we've seen the cross and we've seen what it's done to us. But now the Lord wants to transition and for us to see what the cross is meant to do for others.
Yeah.
Which is the same
Yes,
thing.
that is so good. I know, for me, it started off in acknowledging not only that, the value within myself. The beautiful thing that I completely agree with you that you said is that, souls are of intrinsic value. Acknowledging that not only my soul is eternal, but the soul of everybody else is eternal.
Yeah.
That it is so much more than like the physical, like, hey, I love you. No, why do I love you?
Yeah.
But also remembering what the Lord has asked us to do. And he said, love your neighbor as you love me.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what does that mean is in order for me to be able to see the value in anybody else, I first need to see the value in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
So another thing was being made in his image. There's the value, the standard of self-esteem that the world has versus what the Lord says about us. Self-esteem in the world is measured by how highly we hold ourselves, versus self-esteem or like self-image in Christ is held by how much we hold ourselves to Jesus, how much we're attached to him.
Yeah.
We are made in his image, and in order for me to understand the value of a soul, I needed to understand that we didn't have any standards. It was uncircumstantial, that it was boundless, that we meant everybody.
Yeah.
That the value of the soul, I wasn't supposed to see the value of a soul in someone that only loved Jesus. I was
Yes.
supposed to see the value of a soul in everybody because they were made in his image.
Yes.
Even the hardest person to love.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with the both of you guys, and it's just like I was like, okay, Lord, well, what if this person has done this, or what if this person
Yeah.
has done that? And the Lord is like, we are made, you are made, all of y'all are made in his image, in my image. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
all right, it's gonna be great. We're gonna just power through
Yeah.
this, Jesus.
But yeah, I remember one person asked a question at Breakaway. He's like, how do you basically minister to a person who is unlovable? And the guy turned back around and asked a different question and says, well, does he have a beating heart? And the guy was like, yeah. Well, then he's lovable. You just have to find out how,
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And so I was like, whoa, that totally changed my view on basically
Yeah.
the value of a soul. I
Yeah.
mean, you look at Isaiah and you see God meets with him, and then God basically says, whom shall I send? And he was the only one there. And then Isaiah volunteered himself and was like, send me, please, please, please send me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So, I thought that was incredible.
Yeah. I know G.K. Chesterton, he says that, he's talking about Rome, and he says, let me get this right. He says, Rome did not become, Rome was not, wait, men did not love Rome because it was great. Rome became great because it was loved.
Yeah.
Right. And so
now.
the idea of something becoming lovable means that it must be loved first. Nothing is lovable in itself until it is first loved. So when
Yeah.
you're talking about a
Amen.
soul, when you're looking at a soul, when you're looking at a person, what you're seeing is in this project or this experiment that you have to figure out, this math
Yeah.
problem that you have to figure out. It's this complicated person that when you look at their lives has hurt and has pain and has misunderstandings and wrong views about God and wrong
Yeah.
views about people, and you're walking into that, and the love of God, when you're talking about the love of God and you're walking into that, and you look at your own life and how God and your friends walked into your life and helped you walk through that. That's the same thing that we're called to do for someone else.
Yes.
Is that we walk into that
Yeah.
ugliness and quite frankly, like very scary things sometimes. But the beautiful thing is that we can see the outcome, that we can see what God intended it to be, and we can fight for that. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it.
And what's so incredible is that we are given examples of, Jesus doing that in the Bible. Like whenever he spoke of a majority of the parables that he spoke of, the sheep, the coin, the prodigal
Yeah.
son, it's literally him setting an example of him telling us, love the unlovable. The Pharisees were like,
Yeah.
excuse me? And he's like, no, I'm telling you to love the unlovable. I think about people that walked me through ugliness and how
Yeah.
intimidating
Yeah.
it could have been, Alex Garza, Allie Disney, forever grateful for those two women because they chose to love me when you were right. I alone could not do that.
Yeah.
And it was because they chose to see a value in me that I couldn't see at that moment, but they saw because they knew that Jesus made me,
Yeah.
and it was to
Yeah, come on.
fulfill a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at when Jesus was speaking to Peter in the beginning. He says, "I will make you a fisher of men."
Yeah.
People are like, "Man, how can I be a fisher of men?" But they miss that first part of Jesus. I will make you.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to be cultivated by Jesus
Yes.
in His own heart and try
Yeah.
to dive into His own heart.
Yeah.
And that's
So good.
such an incredible thing. I think what we focus on too much is the quantity of time, right, versus the quality of time. You
There
know,
we go.
Yes.
and so it's like I remember 5 minutes. Just my motive. I just want to be with you, God, was more incredible than I have to read, and I have to read for an hour, and it was
Yes.
totally different. And I was like, man, it was all come down to the motive. And what you said it. You hit it dead on. The choice. They chose to find value. You see that?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is good. This is awesome. We're learning. All right, question number 2. Danny, I'm going to pick on you. I forgot who
Okay.
I started off by picking on for a moment. Okay, how do we move out of just self-motivation or extra effort to doing it because we love God?
Well,
Hmm.
I think I just told the story of how burden in my heart was first introduced. I remember I was barely going through OTC. It was like I was just not the best at going through OTC. I would just doodle and but thank the Lord for His grace. But I remember Derrick was my small group leader at the time, and the way Derrick would do things is that he would bring us along, and then he would show us, right? That's the method of Jesus, right? He would show us how to do it, and we'd help him. And one time we were at witness table, and I was, fooling around. I didn't really want to talk to people because I was kind of scared of what they would say or how they might look at me, or maybe there were some people in my class that knew me, and and I didn't want to be branded as the Christian kid, right? And that was my thought. And some other students were playing with the Nerf gun, and I remember I grabbed the Nerf gun and I saw Derrick was talking to this other guy, and I shot the gun right in between them. And Derrick and the guy turn around, and the guy's in tears, and I'm like, "What did I just do?" And Derrick just gave me this like very stern look. But I just remember the Lord speak that day, and He just basically said, "You care more about your image and your appearance than you care about their eternity." And I was like, "Oh gosh." And at that moment, everything that I had been reading, everything that we had been taught
Yeah.
was becoming real to me.
Mm.
And it's a whole reality of how do we move from just self motivation to like the love of God compels us, is that we have to be in the presence of God, right? Only when God speaks, only God can put that in our hearts. No amount of methodology, no amount of instructions, none of that can really create a burden in your soul. It really does come from intimacy with Jesus,
Yeah.
right? Intimacy with God is a thing that helps us see what He loves, right? And a long time ago, Mary Gotro came and she was telling the story of David and his 3 men, his faithful 3 men, and and basically David under his breath, he kind of said, "Oh, that I would have some water from the well in Bethlehem," right? And so his 3 men were like, "Bet, we'll go get it." Now the only problem with this was that Bethlehem, that well, was behind enemy lines, and so his 3 men didn't care. They didn't care about their own life. They didn't care about anything. They loved their king. They were friends to their king, and they loved him with such a passion that they went behind enemy lines and then grabbed that water and then brought it for David, right? And what she was saying was this, that these 3 men were so close to the heart of God, to the heart of King David, that when he uttered a desire, they ran to meet that desire.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea of intimacy with God, is when we're close to His heart, we can hear His desire. And when it's
Yeah.
not about us and it's about Him, then we'll be moved to go and seek out what it is that He desires. And we know that the thing that He desires the most is souls, is people, is
Yeah.
to spend eternity with those whom He
Yeah.
loves.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good, actually. We could just leave it at that. But yeah, mic drop.
Thank you,
But I
Mary.
would even add too, like, because you were in godly community, too, it was
Yes.
able to cultivate that too. I think that makes it so much easier
Yes.
when you're not alone. I mean, going back to Thursday night when I was talking about us running, it was
Yeah.
like, man, I couldn't have done it if you weren't there, and the Lord gave me a revelation
Yeah.
of that. It's like Jesus provided that, and that was
Yeah.
God's character.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's what we celebrate as a community. It's like it's the culture that we'll create, and if someone gives their life to Jesus, or they're beginning to become excited about learning about Jesus, and we get excited about that, then our friends are going to see that, and they're going to be
Yeah.
asking, why are they getting excited about that?
Yeah.
Why are they getting excited about that? I remember when my brother like gave his life to Jesus, and I remember we were sitting in this room, and I was telling
Oh,
the staff, I was sharing with them, and
Yeah.
all of them were in tears because all of them had been praying for my brother. All of them had been
Yeah.
fighting for my brother because they saw that value. And so
oh man.
there's something wonderful when you see that when it's expressed in a community setting, or in
Yeah.
a community aspect, then everybody becomes excited about it, and that's the culture that we create. And so is if as a community we celebrate souls being won to Jesus, or souls coming to know Jesus, then that's what's gonna like propel us to move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Celebration, and knowing
That's
that
so
Jesus
good.
is excited for that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
one thing that I promise I don't have Rona. My voice went out because I'm emotional right now. But one thing that I love that y'all have been saying is the celebration of Jesus coming into someone's life. And honestly, both of y'all's responses have been phenomenal because you tie it back to the most important person of it all is Jesus. While I was preparing for this, I was reading the second question, and it's
Yeah.
like moving out of self-motivation or extra effort to doing it for Jesus. And I was like, well, those are two very different things, self motivation or Jesus. And it reminded me of Matthew 6:24. Yeah. And it says, no man can have two masters.
Yeah.
It's either, you either hate one and you love the other, or you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Come on.
So I was like, okay, Lord, like, well, if I'm doing it for self motivation, that's self exaltation right there.
Ooh.
When we do that, we run off of our own strength.
Yeah.
We do it, and I found that whenever I used to do everything that I did for self motivation, for extra effort, it was so circumstantial. How could
Yeah.
I be glorified? How could I be more liked? What is a way that I can make myself more appealing to people? And the Lord was like, no, Julie, it's not yourself making you making yourself more appealing to people. It's about reconciliating those that are lost back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, Lord, let's do this.
Preach.
But I'm kind of like, all right, how do I move out of that mindset? How do I move into, doing it only for you, Jesus? I'm reminded whenever we do something for Christ, the same way that you just told a story about those 3 people that were committed to their king, I'm making a commitment to be doing this for Jesus.
Yeah.
Whenever I think of commitment, I don't know if anybody thinks of that, of marriage, but I think that is like one of the biggest commitments that we can
Yep.
make. Whenever we think of wedding bands, unless you're very rich, and again, like, most wedding bands pretty much weigh the same, right? But one
Yeah.
thing we need to understand is the moment that I know you're like, hey, Alex, bring the scale. No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
But one thing we need to understand is that wedding band that we wear on our finger is a light piece of jewelry, but it's also one of the heaviest pieces of
Yeah.
jewelry you will ever
Yes.
wear.
Yeah.
You get me?
Mhm.
So the Lord is like, when you make this commitment to me, you're saying, I will do this for you.
Yes.
The Lord gives us a box whenever we choose to do things for Him, whenever we choose to follow things whenever we choose to follow Him, and that box is empty. We choose what we put in that box. We can either fill it with self or we can fill it with Him.
Yeah.
Come
And
on.
that's when the Lord was like, this is how you move out of self exaltation. This is how you move out of doing it for yourself and doing it for me.
Yes.
But anyway, I love you guys, and it's been really, really good. Y'all, this was a good one. That's all I'm going to say. And we unfortunately don't have time for last 10%, but know that these two incredible friends of mine are on social media. So if you have any questions on what they said today, feel free to message them. Message our Chi Alpha page. There's always someone that's willing and available to talk to you guys. And remember that when it comes to value, all the souls started off with Jesus. Jesus knew that there was a possibility that we were going to choose something else, but he always provided a way back. And the beautiful thing about it is that way back was already paid for. And it was when he died on the cross for you. We love you guys so much. And just remember that we are always here for you guys. And if you want to talk to anybody, every single one of us is available to talk to you. We're praying for you guys, and we love you guys so much.
Definitely.
Peace out, Girl Scout.